Sutter Kane. Welcome back to Planet Hex. I'm Andrew Horn. It's been a while. Sorry about that. I've not been well with various things going on with my extremities, resulting in me walking with this beast for quite some time now. And don't know when I won't need it, but these things happen. So it's been a while, so I'm sorry there has been a break. Mainly what I've been up to while I've been recuperating is, apart from working, is watching lots of episodes of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Next Generation, Strange New Worlds, and so on. And largely that. Largely lots of Star Trek. And but there's also Viz, and how could you not feel better when there is a new Viz out? So I've got that. I do recommend it. It has an inspirational calendar in it. If you're a Viz fan and you get the humour, you are going to love that. On this episode of Planet Hex, it's time to go through some of the recent retro movie VHS horror-y, culture-y stuff that we look at online, that I found online. I found some interesting ones this week, ending in an expert piece that I implore you all to check out. So the first thing that I've found on this week's episode of Planet Hex... Oh, it's nice to say that again. I've missed making these when I don't get to do them. I really do miss them. Is this one over on JoeBlow.com. Why has VHS made a comeback? When it loads, I used to visit Joe Blow loads back in the days where things like Ain't It Cool were huge and things like that. So it's always nice to see stuff still going on at places like that. So we've got here Joe Blow Original. Why has VHS made a comeback? This is this is an interesting piece here. There's a YouTube video here. Why do analog formats like VHS and vinyl keep coming back? Examining why retro stuff remains appealing to sad old nerds like myself who end up making YouTube videos about it. Well, I think one of the main things is we need content. No, I'm kidding. It's always good to check in with the things that made you who you are along the way, and I totally get it. I totally understand. So do give that a check out. That is over on joeblow.com. Next piece I found here. Parents stopped the kids streaming in favour of VHS. Then something wild happened. You see, it's a great headline. And it's very much of the time and of the zeitgeist, where we're trying to make sure kids don't just spend all their time on streaming devices or gaming and whatnot. But that also sounds like the tagline in a trailer for something where the kids are then possessed by household objects, toasters, vacuum cleaners, light bulbs, that sort of thing. So that's what that brought to mind anyway. But this is an experiment where a California couple decided to stop their kids streaming movies and TV shows in favour of watching old VHS tapes, with interesting results. And it did have a result on their behaviour. What I would imagine is that they wondered why all the effects look so dated. But this is interesting. See, it talks about setting boundaries and time limitations on things, and a shared experience, a familial experience of watching these things together and doing these things as a unit, rather than getting lost in our personal misery boxes forever. Where you can just scroll until your thumb is extremely muscular, but your brain is completely atrophied. I'm guilty of it myself. Many a late night spent like that, but it's an interesting piece. That's over on Newsweek.com. So one here that caught my eye that I thought was really interesting. This is true. The protest that wasn't, how early 80s horror movies turned outrage into advertising. Now it sits very well with all the my interest in the video nasties and the early video rental era, where it was kind of demonized because they thought these films were going to corrupt society, these films were going to destroy people's minds, and then the insane guff from Mary Whitehouse and so on, saying how these things were terrible, they were going to destroy everything, just made them more popular. It's like the modern day equivalent would be like going on someone's post to flame them, to aggro them. Trolls going on posts. Those trolls going on those posts just make those posts bigger. It feeds the algorithm. It improves engagement. So that's all that was happening back then in the 80s. These movies were becoming more and more famous, the more people demonise them. But this is an interesting examination of some of those films. There's Silent Night, Deadly Night, then Driller Killer, of course. Cannibal Ferrets gets a mention, of course, things like Last House on the Left, but I do recommend you go check this out. It's an interesting read that kind of puts it together as to how these films became far bigger than they would have been if these idiots would have just left them alone. You know? It's a very silly thing to have done. By bringing them into the public eye, you made them infinitely more popular to the point where 40 years later we're still talking about them. So, I think the horror movies won. Personally. That's over on vocal.media in the horror section. I found some cool stuff over on the Internet Archive, as I always do. There's some glorious things on there, and one of the things that takes me right back to the mid-90s is the explosion in anime that really took off in the mid-90s in the UK. Of course, the biggies, the original ones were like Akira, Ghost in the Shell, and then it moved on to things like Ninja Scroll and Fist of the North Star and stuff like that. But I've got here an ADV films catalogue from summer 1996. Let's have a look at some of the releases that came out around that time. See if any of them... let me know in the comments below if any of these stick out as something that you visited yourself, you checked out yourself, or were a fan of. I know there are some in here that I really, really liked. Although I didn't ever see 801 TTS Airbats or the Abashiri family. Let's have a look on the next page. Okay, so we've got Battle Angel. This is Battle Angel Alita, adapted from the manga. Of course, there's been a live-action movie since then, but the anime was just awesome. There's really good ones. Blue Seed. Do you remember hearing of but never watching? There's Burn Up. The original version of would go on to be Burn Up Warrior, and then Burn Up XS, which was just lady cops doing lady cop action stuff and being pretty. Very much the focus was them being pretty, very much of its time. All-purpose cultural catgirl Nuku Nuku. I remember that. I think I only ever saw like one episode of it, but I remember that being big at the time, and that is where I would imagine a lot of interest in many things now in anime have spawned from for this sort of thing. So we've got Curse of the Undead Yoma. What else have we got going now, guys? Remember that? I remember Cutie Honey and New Cutie Honey. Did you ever see the live-action Cutie Honey movie? The first one. There were two of them. The first one was just literally like a cartoon brought to life, and the second was a bit darker. Recommend the first one if you've not seen it. Dark Warrior, Dragon Half. I remember Dragon Half. That was fun. Devil Hunter Yoko. Dragon Knight. Galaxy Fraulein Una. I had a figure of her. I didn't even know what the series was at first, but I got a figure when I went to the comic shop because it was just such a cool thing. And then looked it up, and it was from that. Fun show. Icelian. Gunsmith Cats. Yes, Gunsmith Cats was great. Comedy, action, police procedural, ridiculous anime stunts, that sort of thing. Takes me right back to that time when it was all fresh and it was all new, and we hadn't really got to a point where these things were cliched or ridiculously overblown, if you know what I mean. Varga, Megami Paradise, Maps, Mighty Space Miners. I don't remember any of those. Don't remember any of those at all. But ADV has always been one of those labels that put out stuff that you would want to see. So, I've probably missed some stuff here. Plastic Lil, I vaguely remember that. And Princess Minerva. I remember Samurai Showdown. That was awesome. That was a load of fun. Wasn't a video game adaptation. I remember playing a Samurai Showdown game back in the arcade days. Sol Bianca, Sukuban Deka, Angel of Darkness. Yeah, I won't go into Angel of Darkness in detail here. End of Summer, Elven Bride, Dragon Pink. Some of these aren't bringing me back to that time, but I'm sure that people out there will remember more of these than I do. Gunsmith Cats 2, yes. That was fun. That was a fun series. On the coming soon section at the back, we've got Neon Genesis Evangelion, Power Dolls, Ushio and Tora, Blue Seed Volume 4. What else we got? Fire Emblem. Oh, the live-action version of Tokyo, The Last Megalopolis, and Gunhead. I've got Gunhead still on VHS. That was great fun. Like an attempt at making a mecha movie where the mechas were kind of on wheels, like tank tracks. It worked pretty well. Very good cyberpunk movie if you want to, refresh your cyberpunk needs. Never said that before. But Tokyo Last Megalopolis, that was one of the early animes I remember there being coming over to the UK, dubbed by the manga company. And there was a live action version of it, and live action versions of anime was just blew my mind. There's a live action version of Crying Freeman with Mark Dacascos in it. There was a live action version of Fist of the North Star with Gary Daniels and Malcolm McDowell in it. Look that up. It pretty much destroyed a studio doing it because they were trying to do anime style stuff on a budget, but it wasn't too bad. It was watchable. And the back, there we are. That's awesome. I love seeing these things in an older form. Why not? Something else I found over on the Internet Archive that may be of interest to my VHS brethren is this Nightmare on Elm Street, a collection of foreign and domestic VHS covers. So by foreign and domestic, this is an American fan that's put this together, but I thought this was really cool. So we've got the media edition there. Of the first Elm Street with that iconic artwork. We've also got these side by side. So the one that I'm familiar with is this one here, the Graham Humphreys one. That's the edition I had originally. But then we've got this Un Film de Wes Craven, Les Griffes de la Nuit. That's awesome. With the alternate artwork on there. And some of the usual screen grabs that you see on the back there. But I don't remember seeing this one, Freddy in the corner, all that often. I've seen it before, but I don't remember it being on any of the tape covers. Then we've got like a later version there that's got far less inspiring artwork on it with the claws coming through. But this Nightmare one here, Nancy looks very shocked there, doesn't she? It's cool to see these. It's cool to see how these different things evolved. CBS Fox one there. That's from Milan. That's the Italian one. Italian version there. Nightmare dal profondo della notte. I don't know why when I do accents my voice kind of gets all gruff. I don't know. Didn't do that when I was in Italy last year. Oh well. But that's a nice addition because you've got a nice clean shot of that iconic artwork there. Not the Graham Humphreys one that I prefer, but it's still pretty cool. The same artwork is on the other one that's not quite displaying properly. Let me just... There we go. So we've got there, this other one is a bit of a mess here, right, okay? So we've got screenshots from Elm Street there, and we've got screenshots at the bottom, and we've got some Elm Street artwork there, of course, and we've got some screenshots in the front, but then in the corner, there's this picture of Freddy in a tuxedo, which is from Elm Street 3, not the first one. That's from when he, is in the dream sequence where he's got Kristen's mum's head. That's not from the first movie. Nice try, no cigar or burnt cigar. We got this one. This one's kind of cool. I'm not sure where that's from, but that is awesome. With really sinister artwork on the cover there, and then we've got this other alternate version, which is just screenshots, Still pretty iconic. But then we're looking at another version there that's got the same screenshots on it. But then we've got an edition here of Elm Street 2 Freddy's Revenge. This is a media version, so this is back to the States for this one. And he's just peering around a tear on the page. Freddy's Revenge, Elm Street 2, is never going to be anyone's favourite. I don't think it's only going to be anyone's favourite in that series. It's not particularly terrible. It's certainly not Freddy's Dead bad. Or Dream Child bad, but it is not one of my favourites. However, the English version of that had really cool artwork on the front, which I don't appear to have got here. These are variations on Elm Street 2, which I wouldn't really grab these off the shelf. They don't scream to me, quick, rent this. This is amazing. But then we've got Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. So the first one there, we've got the US version, the media box with the pretty iconic Elm Street 3 artwork on it with the Dream Warriors on it as they would appear in the dreams. On the back there we've got Patricia Arquette being devoured by giant worm Freddy. But this has got preview tapes here with the glove on itself. So that's the preview tape with the glove on. Looks alright. Not one I would buy, but that one with the blue on it is just iconic. Then you've got alternatives in that, again from other countries, including this one. Why did Freddy have a duffel coat on it in these images? I had that on mine as well. Didn't really get that. Elm Street 4, the Dream Master, on this version of Elm Street 4, on this media tape, it is giving away a big piece of the ending. Spoilers. Nicely done. And again, the alternative version over here from another country, it's got it's got Elm Street 4 artwork on the front, and on the back, that's a still from Elm Street 3. Never really got away from Elm Street 3, did they? Then you've got Elm Street 5, so we've got the media version from the US here, promotional version of that, and an overseas version. Just the cheapest looking artwork possible, and the worst looking Freddy makeup. It just looks like cookie dough. He looks unbaked, which is ironic, thinking about the character himself. And then we've got Freddy's Dead, and the least said about that, the better. We've got Wes Craven's New Nightmare. This first one, that's pretty much what we got here in the UK. Some more photo-y ones there, and then it's on to Freddy vs. Jason. It's really nice to see how things vary around the world, but it's strange seeing like things that you're very familiar with, because you're like, that's not right at all. But do go check these out. There's a bunch of stuff like this over on the Internet Archive that can be accessed for free. Now, over on this site that I've not done the GDPR stuff for, over on Fox 12 Oregon, not somewhere I go often, there is McMinnville Video Rental Store celebrates 40 years. That rules. There's a video there, there's a little bit of text about it, but go check out the video. It's over on Fox 12 on kptv.com, about a video store that has lasted 40 years. And for anyone to be doing this sort of thing here and now is crazy and utterly commendable. There's a couple in the UK. I know there's still a few around the US and in other countries. Other countries are available as well. But this is the idea that these things are still around, are still available for people, is great. What happens if the internet goes down? What happens when your favourite movies get taken off these services? Stuff you've never seen, classics, original cuts, things that haven't been tampered with. You got to go to a rental store. You got to go check them out, find them on eBay, or if you don't have a rental store near you, or Amazon, or Facebook groups, or car boot sales. If you are very lucky, barely any in the ones I've been to lately. I need to get some more of those. But anyway, go check that out. There's a nice reminder here that a terrifying 90s teen horror series over on Dread Central, the terrifying 90s teen horror series that ruined your childhood, is now streaming on Prime Video. And it is, yes. So, it's Are You Alone in the Dark? Sorry, Are You Afraid of the Dark, even. It's late, leave me alone. I've not done this in a while. I've not done these videos in a while, and I've missed them terribly. So, excuse my enthusiasm. Yeah, some Are You Afraid of the Dark was a really fun series. I remember watching that many times as a teenager. And, yeah, as you can see there, it went further than Goosebumps did. It went further than a lot of kids' sort of anthology shows did. If you've never seen it before and you are of that era, I do wholeheartedly recommend that you give it a go. There's some clips and stuff on YouTube and trailers just to check out and get a flavour for it, but it is available over on Prime. Now, the last thing I want to talk about on this week's episode is this here over on bloodydisgusting.com. The quick and essential guide on pricing horror VHS tapes in 2025. Now, this is the sort of thing where I would kind of brush it off because these things change so much. However, this particular piece is written by Josh Schaefer of Lunchmeat VHS. Josh is a legend. Josh also knows what he's talking about. Josh is so ingrained in the VHS scene. It's unbelievable. He's been part of documentaries. He did the original cover for my book, VHS Ate My Brain, and publicised it in the States and sold it in the States for me. And I love this guy. He knows thoroughly what he is talking about. So yeah, bloodydisgusting.com. On the home video section, the quick and essential guide to pricing horror VHS tapes in 2025. It being Josh, it's a great piece. Yeah, of course, there's Frankenhooker in it. But there are some great things to consider here when you are pricing and seeing what things are worth, and when you're trying to decide if you're paying the right price for things as well. So do go and check this out. Wholeheartedly recommend this. Wouldn't normally recommend this sort of thing. I'd complain about them, but this is from Josh Schaefer. This is from literally the man himself, and I cannot recommend him and the stuff he does highly enough. Go check that piece out. So, I'm Andrew Horn, this is Planet Hex. If you like this sort of thing, please do like and subscribe. Sometimes I do stuff outside, which is not entirely easy at the moment, but I will get back to doing stuff outside here and there. You can check out my books though. VHS Ate My Brain 1 and 2 are out over on Amazon, and the new one, VHS Ate My Brain Heavy Metal Horrors, is coming soon, so look out for that too. I've got an anthology coming out as well before the end of the year. Every now and again I like to put out the stories that I've amassed from various things that I've done. So there's another one of those coming too. But for the meantime, thank you very much for bearing with me while I've not been well. I'll see how I go with making more videos over the coming weeks. We shall see. But thank you for sticking by me, and thank you for watching this episode of Planet Hex.